Across the planet, nature continues to create spectacles that make reality hard to believe. A land where the sky stretches out right beneath your feet. A cave glowing like an entire galaxy locked deep underground. And a massive wall of water pouring down from all sides in the middle of a wild jungle. Some places are frozen crystal clear like glass. Others hide a whole blue world beneath ancient ice. A pink salt lake so beautiful it almost feels unreal. And some are so fierce that humans can only stand back and watch. These are the wildest and most unbelievable wonders Earth has ever created. Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. At an elevation of over 3,600 meters on the Bolivian plateau, a white sea stretches to the horizon. That is Salar de Uyuni, the largest salt flat in the world. This area spans over 10,000 square kilometers. In the dry season, the surface hardens and cracks into millions of polygonal tiles. No trees, almost no signs of life. Then the rainy season arrives. Just a thin layer of water is enough to turn the entire salt flat into a giant mirror. Clouds, mountains, and the sky are reflected almost perfectly. The distant boundary disappears. Earth and sky blend together. In the middle of the endless white void, Phi Phi Islands suddenly rises with volcanic rocks and towering cacti. Harsh, wild, and so bizarre it looks like it was made with special effects. Underwater waterfall, Mauritius. From the ocean surface, this place looks pretty normal. A tropical lagoon with blue water, white sand, and mountains rising along the shore. But when you sit in a plane banking over southwest Mauritius, everything instantly changes. The water below suddenly seems to collapse. Sand is pulled into long streaks. Ocean currents swirl right behind. Everything rushes toward a dark offshore abyss. It looks like the entire sea surface is plunging to the bottom of the Indian Ocean. This illusion is called the Mauritius underwater waterfall. No actual waterfall exists. It is just sand and currents deceiving your eyes. Surrounding it are coral reefs, pristine beaches, and the Le Morne Massif. Small boats glide across the water. Dolphins swim right underneath. But only from the air does this scene fully reveal itself. A tropical island sitting right on the edge of a deep abyss, looking as if it is swallowing the whole ocean. Tumpak Sewu Waterfall, Indonesia. A river rushes to the edge of a mountain, but it does not fall at a single point. It splits into dozens of water streams, covering a semicircular cliff in the middle of the East Java jungle. Indonesians call this place Tumpak Sewu, a waterfall complex about 120 meters high, located right under the slopes of the Semeru volcano. Its name means 1,000 waterfalls. And that is almost true when looking from above. The entire canyon looks like a massive crater. Streams pour in from all sides, then disappear into the thick mist below. To get to the bottom of the falls, you have to climb down steep metal steps. Cling to the wet cliff. Wade through currents cutting across the path. The deeper you go, the louder the waterfall gets. Water spray fills the air. Black rocks tower all around. Humans become mere tiny dots among dozens of white silk streams. Galapagos Islands, Ecuador. About 1,000 kilometers off the coast of Ecuador, white sand and blue water abruptly crash into black lava fields. The Galapagos Islands emerge as a volcanic land made up of 127 large islands, islets, and rocks, all isolated in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It is exactly that isolation that created creatures practically non-existent anywhere else. Blue-footed boobies stand on rocky shores. Giant tortoises crawl through the bushes. Sharks glide close to the shallow waters. But the most bizarre are the marine iguanas. They are the only lizards in the world that dive into the ocean to forage. Here, mangroves grow straight out of the lava bed. Waves crash against black cliffs. 97% of the archipelago's landmass is protected as a national park. The Galapagos does not feel like a reserve built for tourists. It feels like an evolutionary branch that broke off from the rest of the Earth. Waitomo Glowworm Caves, New Zealand. You leave the green grassy hills of Waitomo behind, cross through the dense forest, follow a stream, and then stop in front of a pitch-black cave entrance. From here, the journey completely changes. You step down into the cold water, duck under stalactites, squeeze through narrow and slippery rock crevices. The light behind you quickly disappears. Darkness swallows everything. Then thousands of glowing blue dots appear all at once on the cave ceiling. They are not stars. They are Arachnocampa luminosa larvae, a species found only in New Zealand. You have made it through a tough trek, only to realize the deep underground hides the thing most resembling the sky. A living galaxy sparkling right above your head. Yellowstone, USA. Rivers wind through valleys. Pine forests blanket the mountainsides. Herds of large animals move across the meadows. Yellowstone looks peaceful, but deep underground, the heat never stops rising. The Yellowstone River suddenly rushes over a rocky edge, plunging down the lower falls from a height of 93 meters, then pouring straight into the blazing yellow canyon below. On the plains, bison roam in herds. Moose appear among the tree trunks. Pronghorn and elk freely cross the vast landscape. Here, you are just a tiny guest. But the most unbelievable sight lies at the Grand Prismatic Spring. A sprawling hot spring opens up on the ground. The center is deep blue, surrounded by rings of vibrant yellow, orange, and red. Those colors do not come from chemicals. They are created by microorganisms that can survive in extreme temperatures. Lake Hillier, Australia. In the middle of a remote island off the coast of Western Australia, Lake Hillier appears like a splash of pink sitting right next to the deep blue ocean. This hypersaline lake is located on Middle Island, separated from the sea by only a low strip of forest and white sand shores. Right before your eyes are three distinct colours placed side by side. The pink of the lake, the green of the forest, the blue of the ocean. The entire landscape looks like a colour-graded photo. But this pink hue is completely natural. In the extremely salty water, algae, bacteria, and various pigment-producing microorganisms coexist. They turn the lake into a vibrant pink patch standing out on the wild island. Great Barrier Reef, Australia. Along the east coast of Australia, a massive coral strip stretches for over 2,300 kilometres, so large it can be seen from space. Welcome to the Great Barrier Reef, the largest coral reef system in the world. On a map, it looks like countless islands and streaks of colour scattered across the open sea. Dark blue patches, turquoise waters, thousands of reefs lying right next to each other. But the most unbelievable part is underneath. You leave the shore by boat, cross the vast open water, then dive into the crystal clear ocean. Instantly, a whole different world opens up. Branching corals, soft corals, and colourful reefs cover the ocean floor. Small fish dart through rock crevices. Sunlight piercing down makes the scenery constantly change. The Great Barrier Reef is not just a landscape. It is a living wonder. Vast, untouched, and so overwhelming that it feels like you just dived into another planet. Vinicunca, Peru. A mountain ridge emerges in the Andes highlands. Red, yellow, blue, purple. The colours stack on top of each other as if painted by hand. But this is no special effect. This is Vinicunca, the Rainbow Mountain of Peru, sitting at an altitude of nearly 5,000 meters. The colors do not come from vegetation. They are hidden in sedimentary layers rich in iron, clay, magnesium, and many other minerals. The rock layers were uplifted, eroded, and finally exposed after millions of years. To witness this sight, you have to cross an empty, barren trail. Either on your own 2 feet or sitting on horseback to conquer the steepest section. The higher you climb, the thinner the air gets. Every step you take becomes heavier. Then the final peak reveals itself. A sea of colours stretching across multiple ranges. As if the entire geological history of the Andes has just been flipped open right on the ground. Antelope Canyon, USA. A narrow crack opens up in the ground. You step inside. Instantly, red sandstone walls close in all around. They curve and twist, looking like moving waves. You are standing in Antelope Canyon, a slot canyon hidden on Navajo land. These curves were not made by hand. Over thousands of years, flash floods rushed through the narrow gaps. The currents carried sand and gravel. Each sandstone layer was carved deeper after every flood. Antelope Canyon looks like a piece of art hidden beneath the desert. But its creator was not human. It was water, sand, and time. Pamukkale, Turkey. Leaving the red cliffs of Antelope Canyon behind, the scenery in front of you shifts to a pure white hillside in southwestern Turkey. From afar, Pamukkale looks like a glacier spilling down into the valley. But there is no snow here. Those white layers are formed by minerals accumulating over thousands of years. Hot water from underground flows over the hillside, spilling over rock edges and pooling into pale blue, multi-tiered terraces. You walk barefoot on the limestone surface. Warm water flows around your ankles. Up ahead are white curves, connecting one after another all the way down to the plains below. Pamukkale means cotton castle, a totally fitting name for a place where hot water and white rocks combine to create a winter-like landscape right in the middle of a hot, dry region. Chocolate Hills, Philippines. On the island of Bohol, the tropical forest suddenly gives way to thousands of almost identically shaped hills. They are not tall, nor do they have sharp mountain peaks. They are just round mounds of earth rising up back to back, covering the landscape all the way to the horizon. Filipinos call this bizarre terrain the Chocolate Hills. a complex of over 1,000 limestone hills right in the center of the island. During the rainy season, grass covers them in vibrant green. But when the dry season rolls in, the vegetation slowly turns brown, making the whole area look like countless giant chocolate drops. From the observation deck, you will see the hills stacking up in layers, creating a strange spectacle that nature has repeated over 1,000 times. Volcán de Fuego, Guatemala. As darkness falls over the Guatemalan highlands, a distant mountain peak begins to glow. That light source comes from Volcán de Fuego, one of the most active volcanoes in Central America. Smoke billows from the crater. Deep explosions echo through the surrounding valleys. From the slopes of Acatenango, you can watch the entire scene from a safe distance. During the day, columns of grey ash shoot straight up into the sky. But when night falls, streams of glowing red lava appear against the black mountain backdrop. Hot rocks are pushed out of the crater. They roll down the steep slopes and shatter into small, glowing dots before fading away. You just stand there, amidst the cold air and darkness, watching a living mountain constantly change right before your eyes. Lake Baikal, Russia. In the Siberian winter, a massive body of water gets slowly locked beneath a layer of transparent ice. Lake Baikal stretches over 600 kilometers between mountain ranges and taiga forests in southern Siberia. It is also the deepest freshwater lake in the world. When temperatures drop drastically, the lake surface freezes into a blue and white expanse. This area is so vast that it looks like its own separate continent. Beneath the ice are long-running cracks and clusters of bubbles trapped in layers. In some places, the surface is so clear that you can look straight down into the deep, dark void beneath your feet. Baikal does not just freeze. It turns into a world made of glass in the middle of the Siberian winter. Avenue of the Baobabs, Madagascar. A dirt road made of red earth runs through the arid plains of western Madagascar. On both sides are giant tree trunks, reaching up like stone pillars. Near Morondava, the Avenue of the Baobabs is formed by dozens of Grandidiers baobabs standing in 2 rows along the road. Their trunks swell wide to store water. Branches are only concentrated at the very top. This structure makes them look like roots pointing upside down into the sky. When twilight begins, the sun dips between the trunks and their shadows stretch out onto the road. The sky turns orange, while the baobabs slowly turn into massive black silhouettes. This is not a closed-off park or reserve, but a road still used by locals every single day. Sigiriya, Sri Lanka. In the middle of Sri Lanka's green plains, a towering rock block shoots straight up out of the forest canopy. That is Sigiriya, an ancient fortress built on top of a rock column about 180 meters high. The journey begins at the gardens and water pools at the foot of the mountain. From here, stairs gradually lead up along an almost vertical rock face. Along the way are ancient frescoes and the remains of a wall that was once polished like a mirror. You continue to walk past 2 stone lion paws, the surviving pieces of a massive gateway that has vanished with time. At the summit are the ruins of the palace and water reservoirs, opening up to a sweeping view of the forest down below. Kelingking Beach, Indonesia. A towering green cliff reaches out from Nusa Penida Island, then abruptly drops off into the Indian Ocean. Viewed from above, the curved ridge looks like the head and back of a dinosaur. Right below is Kelingking Beach, a strip of white sand squeezed between the cliff and the deep blue sea. At the viewpoint, the beach looks very close, but to touch it, you have to hike down a narrow trail running right along the spine of the ridge. Wooden fences hug the edge of the drop, and many steep sections become almost vertical. The lower you go, the louder the waves sound. The cliff above also looms much larger. At the end of the path, the sandy beach fully opens up. Powerful waves continuously crash onto the shore. The enclosing rock walls make this place feel completely cut off from the rest of the island. Mendenhall Glacier, USA. Leaving the tropics, the landscape before you shifts to a freezing valley in Alaska. The Mendenhall Glacier stretches nearly 21 kilometers just outside the city of Juneau. From the Juneau ice field, the river of ice slides down between forested mountain slopes and comes to a halt by Mendenhall Lake. Blue ice chunks break off from the glacier's edge, drifting slowly on the water before melting away. Nearby, Nugget Falls pours directly onto the lake shore. A rare scene is created when a green forest, a waterfall, and ancient ice all appear in a single frame. Mendenhall looks motionless from a distance, but the cracks on its surface prove it is still moving and changing day by day. Khao Sok, Thailand. In the middle of southern Thailand, the limestone casts of Khao Sok suddenly thrust straight out of the green water. Surrounding them is a vast tropical rainforest with sheer cliffs, caves and valleys hidden by dense foliage. The journey usually begins on Chao Lan Lake. This is also where longtail boats glide past plant-covered rock formations and floating raft houses sitting isolated in the middle of the lake. This lake was formed after a valley was flooded in 1982. The old mountain peaks still poke through, making the whole area look like a rocky archipelago in the middle of the jungle. Khao Sok does not reveal itself as a single landscape. It slowly pulls you deeper into a world of water, stone, and ancient forest. Dolomites, Italy. In northern Italy, green meadows come to an abrupt end at the foot of rock walls thousands of meters high. These are the Dolomites, a section of the Alps featuring 18 peaks, soaring over 3,000 meters. The sharp ridges and stone towers stretch across multiple valleys, creating one of the most iconic landscapes in Europe. During the day, the rocks are a pale grey. But when the sun gets low, the entire mountainside shifts to yellow, orange, and then a blazing pink for a few minutes. Down below are meadows, lakes, and tiny houses nestled right in the middle of pine forests. The Dolomites look like a mountain range sculpted from stone, where light can completely transform the scenery in just an instant. Trolltunga, Norway. After hours of trekking across a rocky plateau, a thin slab of rock suddenly appears out of the cliffside. Welcome to Trolltunga, which means troll tongue in Norwegian. This granite slab juts out horizontally from the mountainside. It hovers about 700 meters above Lake Ringdalsvatnet. Behind are barren mountain slopes and leftover patches of snow. In front, the rock slab ends right in the middle of thin air. When you step out to the edge, you are nothing but a tiny dot suspended above the deep blue lake. Trolltunga is not the tallest mountain in Norway, but very few places deliver such a clear sense of altitude and sheer empty space. Mud Volcanoes, Azerbaijan. Near the Caspian Sea, the mud volcanoes of Azerbaijan are constantly bubbling. This country holds one of the densest concentrations of this terrain type in the world. Small craters push grey mud up to the surface. Bubbles inflate, pop open, and then flow down the cone-shaped slopes. They do not spew lava. Gas buried deep underground pushes water, clay, and mud up through the cracks, creating a series of miniature craters. There are no trees or much colour besides grey and brown. Right in the middle of Azerbaijan, nature has created a coordinate that looks like the surface of another planet, yet it is still moving right beneath your feet. Phi Phi Islands, Thailand. After the grey lands of Azerbaijan, the green cliffs of the Phi Phi Islands standing tall in the middle of the Andaman Sea are the next thing to welcome you. Limestone islands, small bays and lagoons are squeezed between stone walls. Many spots can only be accessed by boat. You hop on a longtail boat, glide past the foot of the mountains, and head into tranquil lagoons. On Phi Phi Island, Maya Bay emerges like an empty pocket sheltered by towering cliffs and white sand beaches. Further out is Hillier Lagoon, where the water turns a crystal clear turquoise. Looking down, you can see rocks, sand, and schools of tiny fish swimming right underneath. Phi Phi is like a tropical maze forged out of rock, sea, and hidden passages between the cliffs. Niagara Falls, USA and Canada. Before you even see Niagara, you can already hear it. The sound of roaring water echoes from afar, the air gets more humid, and then a massive white wall appears right on the border between the United States and Canada. Niagara consists of 3 waterfalls: Horseshoe Falls, American Falls, and Bridal Veil Falls. Among them, Horseshoe Falls is the largest section, where water drops from a height of about 57 meters and creates columns of mist rising endlessly. You can stand on the observation decks or take a boat right up to the base of the falls. The closer you get, the more the view gets swallowed by water spray and a continuous, deafening roar. What makes Niagara special is not its height, but the massive volume of water pouring over it every single day. Machu Picchu, Peru. A layer of clouds drifts across the Andean slopes. As it slowly clears, Machu Picchu begins to reveal itself with its stone walls and terraced fields sitting in the mountaintop. This Incan city is located at an altitude of over 2,400 meters, right in the middle of the Peruvian mountains. The ruins are built on a steep mountainside among towering peaks and high above the Urubamba River Valley. Terraces cover the slope, creating flat ground for houses and helping to hold the soil in place. You walk through narrow stone paths, plazas and foundations pieced together from perfectly fitted stone blocks. All around are mountains and cloud forests. In just a matter of minutes, clouds can roll in and shroud the entire ancient city, making this place look as if it is floating in the sky. David Gareja, Georgia. In eastern Georgia, the green meadows slowly disappear, giving way to arid hillsides stretching right up to the Azerbaijan border. In the middle of a landscape practically devoid of large trees, dark doorways appear on the cliffside. This is David Gareja, a cave monastery complex dating back to the 6th century. Chapels, living quarters, and communal areas are carved deep into the rock. Some caves still house medieval frescoes to this day. You hike along the hillside and look down at multicolored strips of land winding all the way to the horizon. The space is vast and almost entirely free of any modern urban traces. The remarkable thing about David Garea is that an entire religious center was built right in the middle of a harsh semi-desert region. Dead Sea Tree, Israel. Just off the shore of the Dead Sea, a white patch of salt emerges not far from the shore. On it sits a solitary tree trunk, with dry branches reaching up out of the extremely salty water. This site is commonly known as the Dead Sea Tree. It is located near the Ein Bokek area of Israel. But the tree did not grow naturally from the salt island. It was placed here by a local artist on a natural salt formation in the middle of the water. Viewed from above, the white salt layer surrounds small turquoise pools, while the tree trunk stands right in the center like a bizarre oasis. It is exactly this contrast between a tree and a body of water that can barely sustain any life that makes this place one of the most unique sights of the Dead Sea. From ancient glaciers to erupting volcanoes, Earth still holds countless places so wild that you find it hard to believe they are real. Out of all the wonders that just appeared, which location impressed you the most? Leave a comment down below. Do not forget to hit like and subscribe so you do not miss out on the next heart-pounding journeys. See you next time.